Well, a very, very happy Friday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show, San Diego Sports Talk on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Glad you could join me on this Friday morning. And man, I've been up and at 'em. I was down to San Diego this morning on with Paul Rudy on KUSI, and like I put a picture of Paul and I up in the caption said Padres Dodgers preview. That's all we need to say. Padres entered the play today, one game up on the Dodgers. They totally dominated the San Francisco Giants, ran them off the field on Wednesday 11-1. They got a well-deserved day off yesterday in Los Angeles, and they'll tee it up tonight at 7:10. And a lot of questions about who's going to pitch for the Padres. We're going to get into that with our guest momentarily, but I want to remind everyone, if you're tuning in for the very, very first time, please subscribe to the channel, trying to build our viewership up. We're doing very well there. Like the program, send in your questions, and make sure you turn on your notifications and all that good stuff. And we'll keep you up to date on everything Padres. We got an Aztec report coming up a little bit later from their scrimmage last night at Snapdragon Stadium. But before I get to our guest, I wanted to just say a thank you to Art and Patty Doherty. They had Kelly and I out to their home for dinner last night. Art Doherty, a 33-year San Diego police veteran, spent another 7 years with the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, and now for 15 years he has worked NFL security. He works the Charger games at SoFi Stadium, and just before dinner last night, he goes, "I've got something for you." And he knew I was a real big law enforcement guy because my grandfather was a Cleveland police officer for 25 years. My brother was a San Diego County sheriff for 34 years. And Art presented me with this hat, San Diego County sheriff. And so I'm going to wear this very proudly and thank the Dohertys for having us out to a beautiful meal and a lot of great conversation. And boy, it was a fun night. And he was a big baseball player. He played college baseball at Maricosta College and played at Pacific University up in Forest Grove, Oregon. So a good night had by all. Okay, we're going to get to our guest. And I didn't want to bug this guy. This guy works his tail off, folks. And before I bring him on, I just want you to know a little bit about him. Uh, he retired from baseball after the 2003 season, and he came to work when I was working at 1090. And they said, "Hey, we got a guy named Bob Scanlan." I go, "I know who Bob Scanlan is." He goes, "He wants to get into the media business, wants to get into radio." I go, "That's great." He goes, "We're going to have you and Tim Flannery do the home games, and Bob's going to do the road games." And Bob ended up doing a little bit more than that. He did several of the home games in 2004, and that got his broadcasting career rolling. And so for 21 years now, he has either been on radio and most of the time, because of his great looks, he's been on TV. And it doesn't matter where you put him, whether he's a play-by-play announcer on radio, color analyst, sideline reporter, pre and post, it doesn't matter. This guy will always get the job done because he takes a lot of pride in bringing all the information to you fans out there, okay? He's more than just a broadcaster. He's one of my great personal friends, a guy that I love. We spent so many late nights walking the streets of San Diego after post-game shows, but just an incredible human being who cares about everybody. And I bring on my buddy, and I know he's been doing a lot of radio. I would think with his Dodger series, it'd probably be on TV, but he'll tell us right now. But radio TV star of the Padres, our buddy Bob Scanlan, joined us on the John Kentera Show. And Bobby, good morning, and hope you enjoyed your day off yesterday in Los Angeles.
I did, Coach. Thanks so much for the introduction. I appreciate it. And you're talking about my first experience doing radio, and you helped me cut my teeth. And I couldn't have had a better mentor in terms of, getting a chance to transition into the broadcast side, having no idea what I was doing, but being with one of the best in the business. So I've always been grateful to you, not only for your professionalism and taking me under your wing and just showing me the way, but also for your friendship and just all the fun baseball talk that we've had over the years.
Oh, man, we've had it over the years, whether it's in person, on the phone, or going back and forth during ball games, checking in with one another. Bobby, what are you doing this weekend? Because, I mean, you filled so many different roles. You're kind of like the fix-it man on these broadcasts. The guy's off, they move you here, you move there. You're kind of like a Gumby guy, very flexible. But I would imagine you're on TV this weekend, aren't you?
I am on TV this weekend. Yeah. So I'm the Swiss Army knife. I've got 6 gloves in my bag, whatever they need me to do, catch one day, play first base the next. I can come out of the bullpen, whatever you need, coach. So yeah, but I'll be on the TV this weekend. It'll be Don and Mudd in the booth. Mike Pomeranz and myself will be handling the sideline and the pregame and postgame responsibilities. So yeah, we're all ready to go and looking forward to a really fun weekend of baseball. It should be really exciting and intense.
I probably know the answer to this already, but I mean, you've done a lot of sideline reporting, and you're down there after the games talking to Mike Schilt. When you go over to radio, you fill a couple of different roles. You'll at times fill in for Tony on the radio side as the analyst, and then you'll call a lot of play-by-play. And I know you've worked very hard in play-by-play, really from the start. You used to do high school games up in Los Angeles. You were doing whatever you could get the reps in. But how tough is it, Bob? When you're for 2 months, you're a sideline reporter, maybe an analyst, and all of a sudden they say, "Hey, Don's going to be gone, Jesse's going to TV. You're the play-by-play guy." How difficult is it the first day? Now I know once you've done it 2 or 3 days, you get into a rhythm, but that first broadcast when you're back on play-by-play, having not done it maybe since spring training, how difficult is it?
Yeah, you're right. It's a challenge. And it's over the years, I've sort of learned how to make those transitions because each one of the different assignments that I have has a different skill set that it requires. Right. And so at first I was, quite frankly, there'd be times where I was bringing my sideline reporting stuff into the radio analyst booth, and then I'd do the play-by-play, and then I'd switch back over to TV and think I was a play-by-play guy. And I'm like, no. So it's taken over the years sort of this understanding of, okay, what is my responsibility right here, right now in this particular role? What are the skills that I need to bring to add to this broadcast in this role versus a different role, TV versus radio? I mean, they're so different in so many ways. I mean, it's all about talking baseball and having fun and hopefully entertaining and educating, right? But at the same time, there's different nuances to what your responsibilities are in each one of those positions. So yeah, to your point, I think the play-by-play is probably the one that it takes me a few innings to sort of ramp up and get into a rhythm and get into the flow of things. But the good news is I'm so blessed to be around a great broadcast team, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm working with Don and Mudd and doing the sidelining, or whether I'm doing the radio analyst alongside Jesse, or I'm doing the play-by-play. And then my analyst is Tony Gwynn. I mean, I'm really blessed. These guys are all really great professionals. They're good people. And they make me feel welcomed no matter what the role is that I'm doing. And so it's great. I mean, I'm very blessed. I get a chance to do all these fun things, and, it keeps anything from getting monotonous because I'm doing one thing one day and then I'm already preparing to do something else the next day. So they've all been great. And each one is fun in its own unique way, right? Because I get something different that I can add, whether it's on the TV side. Hey, let's put a package together to talk about this guy's batting stance and how it's changing, or let's get a graphic together and look at the numbers of how much he's improved since he's worked on his new slider grip. On the other side, on the radio side, if I'm working alongside Jesse, I get a chance to dig in a little bit deeper and go a little bit further into, okay, who's on the mound? What's his approach? What are we looking for? What might we see early in this game versus later in the game, the second or third time through the lineups, the new pitch that he's working on, but will he use it against this particular lineup that's a really good fastball hitting, whatever the subtleties may be. And then on the play-by-play side, it's fun because I get a chance to work with Tony, and my job is to try to, learn something from Tony and bring out the best of Tony and learn what he has to say about from the position player side and the hitting side and the base running side and the defensive side, where I can add something from the pitching side. So yeah, to your point, they're all different. I enjoy all of them. Sometimes there's a little bit of a transition, especially to the play-by-play. It takes me a few innings to sort of get into my rhythm, get the roll going. But once I do, man, it's fun no matter what they have me doing.
Okay, before we get breaking down, the only thing that I'm disappointed about with the Dodger Padres series
What's
is
that?
they only play 11 times a year now rather than 18. Okay, you know me, man. I lived and breathed these Padre Dodger games like a lot of people. But before we get to that, what's it like being on the mound at Dodger Stadium as a major league pitcher when you're the opponent?
Well, first of all, I can't speak for everybody, but only for myself, having grown up in Los Angeles and watching Dodger baseball my entire life. The first time that I went on that mound, it was a sense of, oh my gosh, this is my childhood dream come true in terms of this is where I grew up watching baseball and falling in love with the game. And then actually, once I got on that mound, Coach, a total fear came in, because at that time, you may recall, home plate was another 20, 30 feet away from the backstop back there. They didn't have all those luxury seats back there.
Uh-huh.
So it was forever between home plate and the backstop. And you felt like you were 80 feet between the mound and home plate. It was that visual of, oh my God, it's forever to home plate. So I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I was expecting. Yeah. So just from a visual standpoint, it was different back then. So now, of course, they've got all those luxury seats and everything behind there. So it's a much closer visual. But still, you got 50,000 people there. It's one of the largest stadiums still, and they packed that place. And there's a great energy there, and they've got the noise going, and it's thumping and everything. And it's, it is a thing in terms of the other place where I felt it was Atlanta, where they had the chop going all the time, where you really have to block out all of that external stuff.
How tough is that, though?
So it can be very tough for some people, right? Because on the one hand, you want to get involved in that, and you're like, yeah, the energy is here, man. I'm going to use this energy, and I'm going to ride it, and I'm going to throw 102 miles an hour tonight. Let's go. And at the same time, like, no. That is not a good recipe for success when you're letting your emotions take over too far. So if you can use some of that energy and channel it and use it in a focus and keep the adrenaline but under control, that's great. But really the key to that is to try to block all of that stuff out and just get focused on the mitt, focused on the target. What do I need to do right here, right now? And that's make this pitch. Easier said than done. In fact, one time, Tommy Lasorda, actually in an effort to rattle me because he knew I was an LA guy, he came out and he was actually coaching third base one time. He said, let's get this guy. He's got nothing. So that was a fun one, trying to block out Tommy Lasorda yelling at me from the third base coaching box while I'm trying to pitch. But hey, it's a great atmosphere there. That's what players love. But, for the Padres, Coach, to be honest with you, because there's such great energy at Petco Park, no stadium is rocking more than Petco Park right now. In fact, I hear it from opposing players when they come in and they're saying, oh my gosh, it's a Monday night, a Tuesday night, and this place is packed. It's rocking. They feel it. And so I think that actually helps the Padres in terms of Padre fans doing an amazing job of bringing the energy every night at Petco Park. So when they do go to these other fields and there's that energy, it's like, yeah, I know how this is. I'm used to this. Yeah, it's a little bit, yelling at me more instead of cheering for me, but still that energy, these guys are used to it. And credit to the Padre fans for keeping them on their toes and bringing that kind of energy every night.
Well, Bob, we got a big 3-game series at Dodger Stadium, and it's kind of interesting if you look at the schedule. Padres, after Sunday, they come home and they got 4 against the Giants, and man, the Giants look like a complete mess right now. Dodgers, interestingly, go to Colorado for 4. And you're going, well, those are going to be some wins probably. But going to Colorado can also be very taxing on your pitching staff. And then they show up in San Diego a week from tonight. So it'll be kind of interesting. But right now you got 2 ball clubs going in 2 different directions. Padres are playing fantastic baseball, doing all the little things. They've got rejuvenated with these guys they brought in from the trade deadline. And O'Hearn's starting to swing the bat. His numbers aren't good, but he's starting to swing the bat better. Fermin's been fantastic. Laureano's been fantastic. Mason Miller, other than giving up that 2-run homer to Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and I'll tip my cap. The guy hit a 103.9 mile an hour fastball into the seats. I'll tip my cap to him on that one.
Sure.
This team is playing great. Dodgers got all kinds of problems. They got 4 bullpen guys on the IL. Tommy Edmonds out. I don't know the status of Max Muncy. He got hurt in the batting cage prior to the Angel game the other night. Padres only 2-5 this year against the Dodgers. But you know what? I got to kind of wipe that 2-5 away because the Padres have a different ball club now.
Yeah, well, they have a different ball club. They've got some great momentum coming into this series, Coach. I mean, really, it's so interesting. You look at July 3rd on the calendar, and that is really the day where things just completely flip for both of these ball clubs. Whereas the Padres have been on a tear. They've got the 3rd best winning percentage in all of Major League Baseball since that time. The Dodgers, on the other hand, they've got the 24th worst winning percentage since that time. So, that's really the point where it flipped. At that point, the Padres were 9 games back of the Dodgers. And since July 3rd, they've climbed all the way to take control of the National League West. And they've done it with not all because of the new pieces, right? A lot of that started before they made the trades, but certainly it seems like, to your point, every guy that they've brought in from the trade deadline has been a contributor, and guys have stepped up. I mean, Laureano's been amazing. We can go into more detail, excuse me, about him if you want. Fermin's done a nice job when you think of everything he's had to take on in terms of transitioning to a new ball club, taking on the responsibilities of being the full-time catcher for the first time in his career, handling an entirely new staff, dealing with the new coaching staff and all the systems that the Padres have behind the scenes that are different than the Kansas City Royals, even to the point of the PitchCom coach. I mean, the whole PitchCom system was different for the Padres than it was with the Royals. So there's so many things that he's had to sort of absorb and take on literally overnight. So I think he's done a fantastic job as well. But to your point, this is the Padres right now. They're a team. They're playing some of their best baseball of the year. I mean, it's not just, oh, we're slugging and it's overcoming some weak pitching, or the pitching is overcoming some weak offense. Covering the defense. No, everything has been spot on for the last couple of weeks, and it's really been impressive. So the Padres playing some of their best baseball of the year with a stronger roster, with guys that seem to really fit in just perfectly in each one of their roles. The Dodgers, on the other hand, as you pointed out, they've been scuffling. Now, they've got issues in their bullpen. We saw them not be able to hang on to leads against the Angels. The Dodgers throughout the course of the season have been one of those teams that could come back and beat you late in the ball game. It's been the exact opposite over the last, month and a half, where they've only had 4 come from behind victories and 13 blown lead losses. That's the most in Major League Baseball. So they've done a complete reversal. And a lot of it has to do with their offense, where they were one of the best hitting teams in baseball. They had the most runs per game up to July 3rd. Since then, they're 24th in the league. They've lost their slug. Max Muncy has been a big issue. He had his knee injured on July 2nd, which may explain some of the offensive troubles that they've had since that date. He came back, but as you mentioned, question mark now, swinging in the cage, might have an oblique situation again. So yeah, it's a team that is really trying to find its legs and get it underneath them, and could be the perfect time for the Padres to take advantage. To your point, doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It's what you got going right now, and the Padres definitely have the momentum coming into this series.
Well, I know you'll agree with me on this. You and I have talked about this over the years. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And right now, the Padres are getting the Dodgers at a very, very good time, because the Dodgers starting staff is starting to get healthy, and they've actually pitched pretty well. Yeah. Yamamoto, had a real rough outing the other night, but, Snell's back. He's been throwing better. Glass now is doing a good job. Kershaw, we're going to see him tonight. And we don't know who the Padres are going to go with. I would assume it's going to be Randy Vasquez, but there's talk maybe the Padres would go with an opener. Mike King going to be out because of knee inflammation in that left knee, and get that healed up, get him ready to roll to where he can get maybe 4 or 5 starts before the playoffs. You're hoping he's pitched less than 60 innings this year, so you got to get him out there and get him stretched out. But as far as tonight, I don't want to see Mike Shildt and Ruben Niebla and the Padres staff outthink this. I bring Randy Vasquez, let him go out there, go 3 or 4 innings, and then go to the bullpen. I'm not big on this opener, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think the plan is exactly what you just described. Randy Vasquez, let's go, call him back up, get him back out there, and give us everything that you got. Go late into the 4th, early 5th, whatever you can do. And, as we all know, that bullpen has gotten unbelievably powerful for the Padres, where they can basically bring in closer quality guys starting in the 4th inning and finish out a ball game for you. Now, obviously, Mike doesn't want to have to do that in game number 1, but if it turns out to be that way, so be it. But yeah, to your point, I'm pretty confident that we're going to see Randy Vasquez today, and hopefully he can go deep in that ball game and take some of the pressure off that bullpen, so they have those boys as fresh as possible for the rest of the series.
They always talk about nowadays managers don't matter, and unfortunately, our buddy Scott Miller, who passed away a few weeks back, Scotty wrote a book about why managers do matter. And I've thought a lot about this, and we know that Mike Shildt and Dave Roberts, I don't know if they're going to exchange lineup cards tonight, how that's going to go when they come to home plate. But nonetheless, I think the managers play a big part in this series, more so than a regular series, because of how each guy is going to have to manage his pitching staff. The Padres realize, hey, we can play a 4-inning game and we can go to the bullpen. Dodgers, on the other hand, they may want to get a little bit more out of their starters because their bullpen is tired. They haven't been effective, and he may want to, try to get an extra inning or a couple of outs out of his starter throughout the course of the entire weekend, Dave Roberts. I think right now, Mike Schilt right now is holding the upper hand.
I agree with you 100%. And the other factor there is, and I was thinking about this the other day, just watching, the Padres play the Red Sox and then the Giants, and how deep this bullpen is. If I'm an opposing manager, I can't afford to be down by a run after the fourth inning. I can't, because of the firepower that Mike Schilt has in that bullpen to be able to come out and just shut me down for the rest of the way. It's no longer a 6-inning ball game. This is literally a 5-inning or a 4-inning ball game if you're an opposing manager. So to your point, how long do you go with your starter if he starts to struggle? Can you afford to fall behind and think that your offense is going to get you back into this ball game? Well, the Dodger offense is struggling right now. So the answer to that innately is no, on top of the fact that, as you pointed out, you don't have Kirby Yates, you don't have Tanner Scott. They're missing some big pieces in that bullpen. So, it's a tough spot for Dave Roberts. You don't want to go to that weakness in your bullpen earlier than you can, but at the same time, you cannot afford to fall behind early in this game, because it could be lights out the rest of the way. So it's a tough spot for Dave Roberts, and king position for Mike Schilt at this point.
And you take a look at the Dodger philosophy, and I watch the Dodgers play a lot, Bob. I mean, especially when the Padres are playing the 4 o'clock game or the earlier game, and the Dodgers start at 7:10 and they're at home. I watch them, and I know them as well as I know the Padres, I think. And Dave Roberts, their whole philosophy up there normally is work that starting pitcher, try to get him out in the fourth or fifth inning, get that pitch count up to where they got to get him out of there.
Yeah.
Well, against the Padres, they better, like against a guy like Randy Vasquez, they better be looking to do some damage early in the ball game and not just try to get him out of the ball game. You get him out of the ball game, I mean, you're looking at 100 plus the next 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah, here's the caveat to that, and I agree with you 100%. But if you're Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, you're thinking to yourself, okay, we know we're going to have to come to the drill press through that bullpen at some point. So to your point, the more pressure they can put on Randy Vasquez in game number 1 and try to get to that bullpen as early as possible and force Mike to start using all of those arms in the 4th inning, so that you're burning up Estrada, Morejon.
So you're talking about the war of attrition, basically.
Exactly. So hey, if I've got to come through the drill press at some point, I might as well do it in game number 1 and force all of those guys to get in there. That gives me at least a shadow of a hope that
that's
maybe
a great
one
thought.
of those, yes, somebody's not going to be available in game number 2 or maybe game number 3. So I still think it's absolutely huge if Randy can come out there, and we know what his pitching style has been, right? He's not going to strike out a lot of guys. We're going to see a lot of contact. There's probably going to be a lot of traffic. To his credit, though, he's been able to tap dance through all those things, but it is not an efficient outing from him normally. So again, just if he can get through the 4th, even to the 5th, that would be icing on the cake. Whatever it takes so that you can try to save some of those big boy bullets in the back end of the bullpen so that you're not exhausted by Sunday.
Bob, I want to ask you about the first baseman of the Padres, Luis Arraez. I know he's a free agent, and I know he's making $14 million this year.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that I love watching this guy play. He's got some showmanship about him. He's got some swag. Yeah, he doesn't show up anybody. Okay. He just enjoys playing the game of baseball. And, from everything I've heard, he shows up at the ballpark with a smile on his face every day. He can turn the page, wants to get better, and has definitely got better at first base.
Okay.
The thing that I'm wondering, and you follow this stuff because you were a player and salaries and all that. For me, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what kind of money is going to be in the free agent market for a guy like Luis Arraez. He's playing a power position, and he's a non-power hitter, but he's a good ball player, and I think he makes the other guys on the ball club better. I think he's I don't know how you quantify leadership. I think he leads in his own way. I think guys like being around him. I mean, what kind of free agent market you think is going to be for him? Because he has bounced around early in his career.
He's bounced around, and to your point, everything you just described has been my experience with Luis also, and getting a chance to be around him on a daily basis. There's no player I have more fun watching. I could just focus on him in a ball game, and I know at some point I'm going to laugh, I'm going to smile, I'm going to be in awe, because this guy has so much fun playing the game.
Loves playing the game.
He does. I mean, and he has fun with you watch all the guys that go over to first base, he's clowning around with them. He's doing the fake throw tag type thing. One time he hit a foul ball and he walked over to it and he putted it over to the other
Oh, I
place.
remember that. Yeah.
So he just has fun all the time. And yet at the same time, an intensity that he never gives one pitch up. Now, sometimes he'll do the statue tape, but it's by design, right? I mean, every pitch he's on it, he's fighting.
I love when he fouls balls off and he'll stomp across the plate and
Right?
come
Yeah.
back.
I mean,
Fun.
he's one of my favorite all-time people to be around, baseball players to be around. When he comes to the ballpark every day, he's high-fiving everybody. He's giving you a pat on the back. He says hi to everybody. He's always got a smile on his face. There's nothing about this guy that I don't love. And from the baseball side, you know how Mike Schilt last year brought in this concept of we need to communicate more in the dugout. I don't want to see a bunch of guys just getting on their iPads after their plate appearance and looking at all the data. Not that that can't still be helpful, but his thing is let's communicate, let's talk, let's share what we've learned up there at the plate, what we saw, what we might pick up. And when Luis Ariz came over last year, he was the master at that. You would see him making out, run over towards the guy that's on the on deck circle and tell him, hey, you know, I saw you can pick up the split finger. You know, he's lowering his arm slot on the slide or whatever it may be. And I had multiple guys come up and tell me afterwards, yeah, I got that base hit because of something that Luis Ariz told me as I was walking up to the plate. So that's the kind of player he is in terms of making guys better, both from a baseball standpoint and also what he brings to the clubhouse. So to your point, I love this guy, and he's worked his tail off to become an improved first baseman. What is his value out there in the market? Unfortunately, I don't think enough teams and organizations value the types of things that we just talked about as much as we do. And I think it's unfortunate because they look at it like, okay, singles. What's, you know, this game is so oriented towards home runs now that a lot of people I don't think are going to value him. And it's a shame because really he brings so much to the table. And who would you rather have up there after your number 8 or 9 guy has gotten on base and he's at second base and it's the 9th inning and you've got some flamethrower on the mound? I want Luis Ariz at the plate. Who's going to drive in a run from second base?
Well, who's going to put the ball in play and not strike out?
Not strike out, drive in the run from second base with 2 outs. Luis Ariz, he's one of the best in the game right now. So I love this kid. I don't know what the plans are for the Padres. I don't know where he fits in terms of the future there. I have no idea what the free agent market is going to offer him. I hope he gets paid fairly because he deserves it wherever it is, hopefully here in San Diego. But if it's somewhere else, you know, I understand and God bless him. But I hope that there's enough people out there in the baseball world that understand and appreciate all the things that he can do, not only on a baseball field, but on a clubhouse and in helping everybody else be better players, because he's one of the best in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching him play. And a guy that I stood behind when I was on radio, and since I've been doing podcasts, I said, you know, this guy's a great guy. He works hard, and that's Xander Bogaerts. And it's really nice to see him really have some success. Really, last 2 months, he's been as good as any Padre hitter, to be honest with you, as far as doing damage, getting on base. And overall, he's done an outstanding job at shortstop. I can't sit here and say, oh, man, he can't do this, he can't do that. He makes plays.
Amen to that. Yeah. And really what's so fun is where did his hot streak start? Here at Dodger Stadium on June 19th when you have that 4-hit ball game, you know? And it was crazy because I remember talking to him just literally the day before and saying, hey, Xander, you know, how are you feeling? Because I went in and I started looking at some of his numbers behind the scenes in terms of the hard contact rates and the barrel rates and the chase rates and, you know, all those types of things. And all of them were some of the best that they had been at any point in his career. So from the numbers in the background, you're looking at and saying, why is this not translating into a higher batting average? Because he's hitting the ball as hard as ever. He's not chasing. You know, he's got great exit velocity, all this kind of stuff. And then sure enough, he's like, yeah, no, I see all those things too. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. The next day, he hits 4 hits against the Dodgers. We're talking to him in the postgame show, and he's been on a roll ever since. So it's a great lesson in a guy who's, you know, committed to a process, was making changes, saw that he was doing the right things, but still, you know how it is, coach, as a hitter, you can be doing all the right things and have really nothing to show for it in terms of the box score. He stuck with it, and it's just great to see him now getting rewarded for all that hard work that he put in. And what's really interesting is a lot of the things that he did, it sounded like it was to get his timing down on the fastball. But as you know, once you've got your timing down getting to the fastball, what happens? You start hitting the off-speed pitches better, right? And that's exactly what happened. When you look at his numbers since June 19th, yes, his fastball numbers are nice, but look at his off-speed numbers, hitting over 400 against non-fastball pitches over that stretch. So credit to Xander Bogaerts, and he's, like you said, he's been huge and done a fantastic job at shortstop also.
Yeah, I think the other thing he's done, and sometimes when he likes to release that top hand after contact.
Mhm.
Sometimes you get into a mode where you don't really use your lower body as much. And I think he's made a concerted effort. It looks like to me he's getting his backside rotation. I don't want to get real technical here, but it looks like he's getting backside rotation to where that top hand is firing a little bit rather than not turning it to where that top hand kind of locks him up on contact.
See, now this is where if we were doing a post-game show at one of the restaurants back in the day, you'd be getting up and I'd see you working on You'd be breaking it down. You'd be taking swings right there in the middle of the
We'd be
restaurant.
walking down Fifth Avenue talking about it at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, because one of the things that he was working on prior to him getting on the hot streak was the use of the lower body, loading a little bit better and being a little bit more athletic with that lower part coming through. And you obviously know how important that is, because if you're not doing what you need to do with that lower half, the upper half is just going to be swinging all arms. So that's exactly what he was working on, and you're right on it, Coach.
You mentioned about you were talking about lowering an arm or something. I can't remember what player you were talking about, but I want to talk about Darvish, because Darvish, I think we all pull for him. We know he's a pro and he takes it serious and wants to go out there and be the best and earn his money. And he's had to kind of recreate himself. Let's be honest. At 38, almost 39 years of age, we've seen other pitchers. I think of a guy you probably remember, Frank Tanana, when he blew his arm out with the Angels.
Yeah.
He went on and still had a great career, but he was throwing 84, 85 miles an hour, but he could add and subtract and throw the curveball. Guys at different points in their career, and I'm sure you had to do that because you pitched till you were almost 40 years old. You got to change your things. And he's dropped his arm angle. And I've always been a believer, it's hard to raise an arm angle, but it's easier to drop an arm angle. And Darvish, he got tremendous run, especially against left-hand hitters. That ball's running away from those left-hand hitters. Talk a little bit about what you're seeing in him from what you used to see and where you see him now.
Yeah, it's a great point in terms of the evolution that a pitcher goes through over the course of his career. And it's so funny because, so often we talk about a young guy and he comes up and, it took him a couple of years to sort of figure out his routine in the big leagues, right? And then to figure out his off-season routine. And then you feel like there's a 2 or 3 year period where he's sort of locked in on that. But guess what? That only lasts for a couple of years because your body starts to change. And all of a sudden, that process of sort of learning yourself, learning your routines in terms of your in-season stuff of what you need to do physically to take care of yourself, and the off-seasons what you need to do, it's constantly dynamic. I mean, it's always changing because your body is changing, your needs are changing. And the same thing holds true for your mechanics, Coach, because at some point in your career, your body can't quite do the same sort of things. And so you adapt and you adjust. And so all of a sudden, maybe something we were talking about, the lower half, pitching and hitting so similar in terms of the body having to work together. And if the lower half's not doing what you need it to do, the upper half is going to be struggling the whole way. So anyway, there are changes that take place over the course of a career. Interesting that Darvish would, at this point, make that kind of an adjustment with his arm angle, because he's been doing what he's been doing so long and he's trying to come back from an injury situation where he missed most of the early part of the season. It actually shocked me afterwards when he pitched that just marvelous game to become the all-time winningest pitcher in Japanese and American history. That was just a surgical outing on his part. He had all of his pitches working. He was dotting them to both sides, every quadrant, whatever he wanted to do. I mean, it was such a great way.
The spin on his baseball that night was incredible.
It was amazing. Yeah. And then to find out afterwards that he had just lowered his arm angle in the bullpen session before, and yet by doing that, he was able to have that kind of great command and not put additional stress on the arm in any way. I mean, just a credit to him, because he's just this super unique athlete, both from the physical side and definitely from the cerebral side. One of the smartest guys I've ever been around, not only for pitching, but he loves the game of baseball. He watches everybody. He's not just a guy that knows pitching. He understands the game. And so I'm not at first I was surprised to hear that he did it, but then you think about it, like if anybody that could do it, it would be Yu Darvish. So credit to him for getting it done. And to your point, he's had great action on his two-seamer. His last outing in San Francisco, I didn't feel like he had his best curveball. Early on, the splitter wasn't there. It came on later in the game, but early on, it was basically four-seam fastball and two-seam fastballs. And because of the motion and the command that he was able to put on his fastballs using those two pitches, really allowed himself to survive in that game, mixed in a few sweepers until the split finger showed up. So just a classic example of a guy who, a veteran guy, knows how to pitch, knows what he needs to do in different situations. And I love the fact that he's making that adjustment with his arm. And one final thought on that, to your point, it is easier to lower than to raise. In fact, I was talking to a veteran guy just the other day. I don't want to say who it was, but he's actually been trying to raise his arm slot because he felt like it was getting a little bit too low. He made an interesting comment. He said, I'm getting up here, and what do you naturally think? That it's going to be a shoulder issue, right? Because you feel like the arm is higher, you might have more stress on the shoulder. He was actually saying he felt more stress on the outside of his arm being up there. So the point is, when you start raising your arm slot or changing it, you start putting pressures in different places on your arm, and it might take you a few outings to get used to it. So again, credit to Yu Darvish for doing what he's doing. Just a pro's pro, a master, and great to watch this guy at this point in his career still finding ways to get guys out.
And the other part about raising the arm, your front side plays a part in that as well.
Oh, no question. Yeah.
I mean, you can stay close, the easier it is to get that arm up.
Exactly. And that's one of the first things that you start trying to raise the arm and the shoulder starts flying open because you're trying to make room for this arm being higher. So now you fly open here, but now the arm is dragging. So yeah, there's all kinds of different things that go into that. So I'd much rather be the guy trying to lower my arm slot than trying to raise it.
Yeah, I know when I was coaching in college, it was a lot easier to lower a guy's slot than try to raise it.
Yeah.
Very difficult. It's a very difficult. It's just the timing and when your foot's striking and all that good stuff. But
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to get your comment on Ramon Laureano. You kind of alluded that him coming in, he's hitting 333 in a Padre uniform. What I'm seeing, and you're down there every day, and you talk to these guys. I'm watching them on TV. This guy, I've always liked him. I liked him with Oakland. He went through some difficult times, and his offensive numbers were awful. I thought maybe he would come in a couple of years ago when Bob Melvin came in because he was available, but they didn't bring him in at that time. But he's really got his career encore, having a career year right now. But when I watch him play, this guy plays with great intensity and almost to a point where he almost is an angry type ball player because he's so intense.
Yeah, no, he's intense, no doubt about it. In fact, I just saw a clip the other day of him charging somebody while he was in an Oakland uniform. So he has that intensity. There's no doubt about it.
Well, good. I'm glad he's got experience because he's going to Dodger Stadium tonight.
Right. It might come in handy all of a sudden. So, yeah. Great match. Great fit for this ball club, right? And credit to the pro scouting department for the Padres, Pete DeYoung and his crew, and AJ for understanding why this guy is such a good match for this team. And we've seen his hitting approach, right? Matches perfectly what the Padres do, right? It's been a lot of base hits to center field, a lot of base hits opposite field. He's not afraid to turn on it. We saw that yesterday or 2 days ago when he turned on a home run down the left field line. But for the most part, a lot of his damage has been opposite field. And to your point, Oakland, great numbers for the first few years, then went really into a funk to the point where they finally gave up on him, went over to Cleveland. That didn't work out. And the turning point under apparently coach, and I'm really curious to talk to him more in depth about this, but when he was in Atlanta organization, they sent him down to AAA. And while he was down in AAA, the hitting coaches down there worked with him specifically on getting more closed with his front shoulder. They felt like he was flying open. And that was the turning point. All of a sudden, he put up great numbers there in Richmond, and they brought him up to the big leagues with Atlanta, had an amazing year, and he's been back to being Ramon Laureano ever since. So great years in Atlanta, great year in Baltimore, and it's carried over here to the Padres now.
And I think one of those years, in the last couple of years, he actually played winter ball as well.
Yeah, I hadn't looked into that, but it's probably true. And that may have been as you're working on something and you're trying to get it locked in. You do whatever you got to do to try to keep that momentum going and establish those new habits. So I've not gone into a deep conversation with him about that, but I want to. I'm going to try to reach him today to talk about all that stuff. But fascinating guy. And again, he's had a great fit here with the Padres. And the thing that I've loved also, it's not just, yes, he's driven in 10 runs. He's scored 9, but 2 of his plate appearances were huge in that Giants series, and neither one of them necessarily look at it and go, oh, that was a difference-making at bat because of the result. But what happened afterwards, and I'm specifically talking about his 9-pitch plate appearance against Robbie Ray. I just thought it was an incredible at bat where he fell behind and just foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, worked, foul ball. And the next thing you know, it's a 9-pitch at bat. He reaches first base on the walk. Jose Iglesias comes up, jumps on a first pitch mistake slider from Robbie Ray, and boom, the Padres are up 2-0 at that point. Next day, same thing against Tang. He put together a 10-pitch plate appearance, which helped open up that second inning for the Padres. So everything that he has done has just been super impressive to watch, not only in terms of the results of getting some big hits when the Padres need them, but also just those grinded bats that have helped set the stage for some big Padre innings.
Okay, now as I'll let you get out of here, and I've warmed you up ready for the broadcast tonight. Okay, man, you're on your A game as always, but take us through, Bob. When do you leave the hotel? What's your routine on the road, getting ready for a ball game tonight?
Oh, my routine. Well, look, I'll probably be on the 1:30 bus or the 2:00 bus to get to the ballpark, because that's when I got to get over there. And I'm already working on notes and getting stuff ready and everything. So, but the clubhouse generally opens, let's say 3:30 or probably 3:30 for a 6 or 7 o'clock game. So anyway, the point is I need to be there before the clubhouse opens. So I'm on that early bus sometimes with the coaching staff and the players that want to get to the ballpark early and get there. I'll get myself set up wherever I need to get set up, get my notes ready, get whatever I need to have done to get into that clubhouse, talk to some players, talk to some coaches, find out what the game plan is for that day, what guys are working on, what they're expecting, just sort of get a feel for everything and, get some notes ready. Then Mike will do his presser probably around 4:30 or 5 o'clock is my guess today. We'll do that. The media presser with Mike, get some more information. And then along the way, I'm constantly in contact with the producers for our broadcast to make sure that I'm getting the information that they need for the broadcast in terms of sound they might want from players, stories they might want on certain guys. And then I'm also doing my sharing with them what I found for things that I want to be able to share in the game. Hey, here's what I found out. Let's try to get this in. Maybe sometimes during the series, might not be tonight's game, but we've got it in case we need it. So a lot of communication going on back and forth between myself and the producers in terms of what information we have and how we're going to disseminate it and use it. Then get a little bite to eat and get ready for a big league broadcast.
Hey, let me ask you this, and you don't do it all the time. You'll do it occasionally. You do it at home. Interviewing Mike Shildt during the game. Is that on the docket for this weekend?
I've not heard anything about that. I think that's something that we generally do at home more often. At least that's been my experience. I don't recall having done it on the road yet this year. So I don't think it is, but
that's a tough interview. That's a very tough interview, I think, because as a former major league player, the manager doesn't want to do that interview. And you got to make that interview quick, concise, 2 quick questions, and you got to get out. He doesn't want to do it, but you got to be the guy with the mic sticking it in his mug.
You nailed it. And to your point, I whenever I have that assignment on a given day, I give Mike a heads up. I'm like, hey, Mike, I just want to let you know, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to, spend.
I know you're apologizing before you do it.
I don't interrupt them. I don't like interrupting players or coaches or anything in the course of them trying to do what they need to do.
You and I have the etiquette. I mean, we've been there. We know what it's like. I mean,
but Mike,
you don't want to be taken off task.
Yeah, but some guys Mike is so gracious about it. He goes, hey, Scan, I get it, no worries, and I'll try to give him a little heads up of what I might ask him so that I'm not completely catching him off guard. And at the same time, he and I both understand that it's also it's a fluid situation. So even if I was planning to ask him about A and B, something happened in the first inning or the second inning that requires our addressing it. And so he's great about it, though. He can answer any question on the fly, and he's very gracious with his time. We appreciate it. And but yeah, I try to stay out of those guys' way as much as possible.
Well, I just want the viewers that are listening to our program now, or go online later and listen to it. I want them to understand that's not an easy interview for the broadcaster, because he's interviewing a guy that really doesn't want to have to do it. He doesn't want to be taken off his job, basically.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, he's focused on what he's doing. And, again, it's, I think sometimes fans also think that I'm just a sideline reporter and I'm just walking around. I'm just, what? I think I'm going to go talk to Mike. Yeah. I just walk down there like
in between Mike, eating a hot dog and having a cold drink.
Right, exactly. So, yeah. So we, these are definitely things that are planned by the producers and the trucks and everything. And when we get the heads up, I try to give Mike the heads up. Hey, this is what's going to be happening today. Thanks for letting us, talk to you. And look, Mike could say no. I mean, he's got the right to say no. I don't want to do that. But again, he's gracious enough that he takes the time to let us ask him a couple of questions, those situations.
That's great. Well, Bobby, we've taken a lot of your time this morning. Get on with your day and have a great broadcast and a great weekend, and bring home a few wins, will you?
That sounds like a great plan, Coach. Always great talking ball with you, my friend.
Likewise, Bobby. Take care.
Thanks. You too.
There you go, man. 45 minutes of good stuff right there with Bob Scanlan, radio TV star for the San Diego Padres, man. 21 years he's been involved with Padre baseball, doing an incredible job as always, and we certainly thank him for all of his time. He's on the road trying to get ready for the ball game tonight, a critical series for the Padres and Dodgers for that matter, and certainly appreciate all of Bob's time. Okay, we've got a lot to get to still. And we're going to get to your questions right now. If you got questions regarding our interview with Bob, your thoughts on who the Padres are going to go with tonight, we believe it'll be Randy Vasquez. There was a rumor out there, only a rumor, that they could go bullpen and, start somebody, maybe start a left-hander, maybe start Morejon, go against Ohtani and Freddie Freeman early in the ball game, and then turn it over to Vasquez, let him throw the bulk of the ball game. We'll wait and see, but I think it'll be Vasquez. I don't want to see the Padres outthink themselves on this tonight. And we'll give you the entire pitching matchup for the series a little bit later on in the program. Let's get out to some Coach's Crew questions. Everybody out there, I would imagine, geeked up, fired up. I'm ready to roll tonight. 7:10 can't get here quick enough for me. All right, what do we got today? Let's take a look. Big Steve Tejas, there he is. Hi, Coach. We need to continue to play consistent ball, not worry about all the outside talk. Don't give Dodgers anything to post on their locker room. Let's play smart ball. Go Padres. Absolutely. Steve, one of the things that I think a lot of people are wondering right now, Dave Roberts, last year he pulled the shenanigans saying Manny threw the ball at him, and then he said he didn't later on. What happened the last time they played at Dodger Stadium? The bench was empty, him pushing Mike Schilt. Everybody's kind of waiting for Dave Roberts to do something to kind of stir his ball club up. So we'll keep our eye on that. I mean, the first inside pitch tonight, everybody's, oh, wow, they'd thrown inside. We'll see what happens. Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to throw inside to Tatis. And the Dodgers will, continue to pound. They're not going to back down. They're going to throw Fernando up and in, knock him off the plate, and then go soft away. And again, I'm hoping Fernando on this trip to L.A. can find his power. Only 4 homers since May 28th. Think about it. He's been stuck on 17 forever. And, hopefully he can get it rolling. But don't let the Dodgers or Dave Roberts particularly get under your skin this weekend. But, Steve, I thank you very much. And you know what? Let sleeping dogs lie. Dodgers are feeling sorry for themselves right now. Mookie Betts looks like he lost his best friend, even though he's swinging the bat better, because we have no answers right now. Well, they had a full day to think about it. We'll see what Dodger team shows up tonight and this weekend against the Padres. But, Steve, thank you very much. Good to hear from you, buddy. Hope all's well. Rich McGuire. Last time Vasquez was at Dodger Stadium, he struck out Ohtani twice and hit him once. Only gave up 3 runs. I feel good with him tonight. And he pitched another time against the Dodgers this year and pitched pretty well. So, Vasquez, think about with Pivetta and Vasquez, they've done a great job. I mean, Pivetta has been a much more dominating pitcher than Vasquez, but Vasquez has given them a lot of good quality innings. The guy, been a starting pitcher, 21 starts this year, an ERA of under 4 from Randy Vasquez as your 5th starter. I'll take that. And you know what? They're going to get him help. Go out there, Randy. Go as hard as you can for as long as you can, and we're going to get you help, buddy. That's the way you got to look at it. And like we talked about, they got a bullpen that they could start bringing guys in the 4th inning, and guys that can legitimately pitch. And you got some guys, a guy like Morejon, he could throw the 4th and 5th inning, and then you go to Estrada, and then you go to whoever you want. You want to go to Wandy Peralta, who's actually the last 2 months, Wandy Peralta's pitched very well. It's just every once in a while he has a blow up and you're kind of going, oh man, Wandy Peralta's ERA is at 4.5. Well, his ERA is well under 4 now. And then, you got the back end, you got Adam, you got Mason, Miller, and then you got Suarez. So it's going to be interesting, man. These are, you can't miss watching these games or listening to them. But man, I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really awesome. Rich, I know you'll be there next weekend. Got those big plush seats down there. You're going to have a heck of a time, and I know you're going to have a heck of a weekend. I talked to a guy yesterday. He goes, my daughter and I are going to the game on Sunday at Dodger Stadium. I go, well, enjoy the game. Hopefully the Padres win, but don't win your Dodger gear. Dodger fans are going to be out to kill this weekend. Man, it's going to be crazy up there. Absolutely crazy. PA, Laureano really feels like an old school, hard-nosed, all-hustle player. Love it. Absolutely. I like guys. Not everybody can play angry, but you watch him. He kind of plays angry, and that's fine. I like that old school. The game means something to them. That's where the Padres have got guys. They got some guys that love playing the game baseball. We talked about Arise. We talked about Bogarts. Merrill loves to play. I think Fernando loves to play, even though looking at his body language sometimes, he's been in a little bit of a funk. And then Laureano and Fermin, those guys love to play. Machado, he loves to play in his own way. Manny's kind of a laid-back, cool dude. But the guy, Manny Machado, I'm going to tell you right now, he has got some of the smartest baseball IQ that you'll ever see out of a baseball player. There's no question about it. Just little things you watch him do. I mean, he's got a tremendous baseball IQ. He really does. Padres got a lot of guys that like playing, and that's half the battle, folks. Not everybody likes playing. Not everybody likes playing in the NFL. Not everybody likes playing in the NBA. Now, hockey, those guys love to play, because if they don't, they get knocked into the boards all the time. But not every player loves the game the way you and I love it. But the Padres have created, this comes from Preller. Preller is looking for guys that want to come in here and really play and be difference makers. And then he gives it to the manager. And it's the manager's job to put all the pieces together. But Preller's gotten him great pieces. And I'm going to stay on this thing about Preller. And I talked about it with Paul Rudy a little bit. AJ's got 1 year left to go on his contract. I don't know where this team's going to go. I don't know if they're going to win the division. They're definitely going to be a wild card. I have no idea what they're going to do in the postseason. But you can't send AJ to Peoria in February with 1 year to go on his contract. They're going to have to make a decision on AJ Preller. They got, right now, I don't know how you can let the guy go. Yeah, he had some swings and misses early in his career, and the ownership stuck with him. And now they get to the playoffs this year, they'll have gone 4 out of the last 6 years. What more could you ask of a general manager than putting a product on the field that wins and gets to the postseason? We haven't won a division title since 2006. And it'd be nice to win one this year, but that's not the almighty these days, as long as you get in the tournament. We've had so many teams that have been wild cards win the World Series. It doesn't really matter. You got to, go on the road a little bit more. And you got to, if you're the good team, you're gonna win. And to get wherever you want, you're gonna have to beat somebody good eventually anyways. But I'm anxious to see what the ownership is going to do with AJ Preller. Because if they do well in the postseason, they're going to be in the postseason one way or the other. And, if they went out in the first round, does that mean AJ doesn't get a new contract? Or if they go to the World Series, you get a long-term contract? They got to lock this guy up. Because there are other ball clubs out there that snatch AJ Preller in 5 minutes. And it costs a lot of money to move out a general manager and all his people, and you got to hire new people, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Padres do, because they haven't shown any inclination whatsoever to even talk or hear rumors about AJ getting a new contract. And we've read articles that, Peter Seidler's no longer here to be a safety net for AJ Preller. Preller, I mean, there's not a general manager that's been more dynamic, at least this year. And we could talk about last year, the year before. Hell, he brought in Luis Arraez last year at the trading deadline. And look at what he did this year. This is a completely different ball club. Hey, the Padres, let's face it, 3.5 weeks ago, the Padres, like I said in a tweet, they're a fringe playoff team. They're probably going to make it. They had no chance. They had no chance to be a division winner. And they start tonight at Dodger Stadium, 1 game up on the Dodgers. They were a fringe playoff team, probably coming in as the third place team in the wild card. And now they've got a legitimate chance not only to win a division, they got a legitimate chance along with the Phillies, the Cubs, whoever else you want to mention, Milwaukee, to get to the World Series. And you get to the World Series, you got a chance to win it because the National League's a hell of a lot stronger, in my opinion, than the American League. But that's my take. But Laureano, great old school type ball player, having a career year. And the other thing Bob and I didn't talk about, watch him in the outfield. He's very good in the outfield, throws well, gets behind the ball, and gets rid of that ball very, very quick in the outfield. PA, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, any updates on King yet? Well, he's got inflammation in his left knee. So there's a couple of ways you can go about that. Number one, you can let it calm down. Probably got, like tendonitis. And I know a lot about that because I had a couple of knee surgeries, and you get tendonitis in there. You want it to calm down, and you can ice it and do exercises and do some ultrasound. Or if you got fluid in there, you can go take the fluid out, and you could also get a cortisone and xylocaine shot. I think those are the shots they still give. And let that thing calm down. And they retroed that, I think 4 days back. They put him on yesterday. So he wouldn't have to be out a full 15 days. But again, you got to be concerned it doesn't alter his delivery to where he hurt his elbow or shoulder. As long as he can get back, hopefully by around September 1st, you can get him 3 or 4 starts going into the postseason. And you'd like to have him in the postseason. And again, you don't need a guy that can go 6 or 7 innings. With the bullpen, hey, go out there, and a lot of playoff teams nowadays, they have guys go 4 innings or 3 1/3, and then they go to the bullpen. So there's still time, and I'm not going to lose sleep. He's thrown under 60 innings this year. I think it's 57 2/3. So they've not had him very much. And when he has pitched, he's pitched pretty well. But I think he's going to be fine. But you know what? Better safe than sorry. Yeah, they had to work back from that shoulder impingement. Back throwing healthy. We didn't have a great outing his first time back, but that's okay. That's to be expected. A lot of rust there. But he's going to be fine. I think he'll be fine. All right, appreciate that. What else we got here? Okay, Neil, Coach, what are your initial thoughts on the sanctions Michigan just received? You know what, Neil? I'm going to have to go back and look at that. I saw Coach Moore got a little bit longer suspension, I believe. Let's revisit that on Monday because I got up early. I was out late last night. I got up early to go to KUSI, and I really haven't been able to read the article. I read the headline, but I wasn't able to really read the entire article and what all the sanctions are, and I don't want to misspeak on that. So give me until Monday, and you come in Monday, and I'll give you my opinion. And I thank you very much for that. But I'll definitely read that. Okay, if Padres win this series 2 out of 3, they get the national media's attention like never before. Yeah, I think so. And then that's just going to make next weekend all that much bigger. You know what was amazing to me? And I haven't looked ahead to next weekend, but I got to believe that Fox and ESPN are going to have those games on national TV next week. This weekend, you got 7:10 tonight, regular start time. Tomorrow night, you got 6:10, local TV, and 1:10 on Sunday. So none of these 3 games are going to be broadcast, on Fox or ESPN. But I got to believe next week. And I haven't looked ahead to see the start times, but I would imagine Fox would pick up next Saturday's game and ESPN would pick up next Sunday's game. I mean, this is the best rivalry going in baseball right now. I don't care what anybody says. This is better than Boston and the Yankees right now. Okay? The Padres, Dodgers, everything that's gone on the last few years, all the weird things, the bench clearers. I mean, who doesn't want to see this? Seriously. I mean, Joe in New Jersey is going to be watching this game tonight. George in New York, everybody's going to be watching Padres, Dodgers all weekend long. People on the East Coast are not going to get a lot of sleep this weekend. They're going to be staying up till pretty late tonight. They're not going to get to bed till 1 or 2 in the morning because they're going to be staying up watching Padres, Dodgers, waiting for something goofy to happen. Always does, man. Always does. Okay, what else we got here? Live questions, coaches, crew. Okay, let's get to the standings. We're just going to do the National League today. Okay, not too many American League folks. Angels hanging in there though. They're trying to stay alive. Phillies, they're pulling away from the Mets. Mets, look at that. Dropped 9 out of their last 10. They're 5 games back. They may not even make the playoffs. Boy, that'd break my heart. Juan Soto not going to the playoffs. I saw Soto's hitting 252. Got a lot of home runs, RBIs, but hitting 252. Milwaukee, best team right now in the National League, 8 games up. What do they won? 12 in a row right now. 76 and 44, playing great baseball. Cubs are still playing good, but they've fallen behind 8 games because Milwaukee doesn't lose. The Reds are trying to hang in there, and we'll talk about them in the wild card. And then, of course, 2-team race. How about Arizona? They won yesterday, so they actually move ahead of the San Francisco Giants. I mean, it's been unbelievable, the meltdown with the Giants. And I've been paying close attention to that. That's been crazy how bad they've played. And the Padres just, I mean, totally outclassed them for 3 days in their home ballpark. And they've not been good at Oracle Park. And the Giants now in 4th place. It's a 2-team race. And we've been saying that for weeks now. Padres, Dodgers, and you have it right there. Now, let's take a look at the wild card. Right now, when you look at the wild card, the Dodgers are in the wild card. So you got the Cubs 4.5 in, Dodgers 4 games up right now. The Mets are hanging on by a thread. Look at that. They got a half-game lead right now over the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati's played one more game, and they have that extra loss. So almost neck and neck right there. Boy, wouldn't that be something if Cincinnati knocked the Mets out on that big old payroll? Boy, that'd break my heart. That'd absolutely break my heart. Okay, it's time. Coming off of that big scrimmage last night at Snapdragon Stadium, I bring on my man, my reporter for San Diego State football throughout the course of the year. Jonathan Olivieri joins me on the John Kentera Show on Facebook, X, and of course on YouTube. And Jonathan, you were out there last night, but I got to be honest with you. I saw the crowd. I watched the news. I saw the picture in the paper. Not a lot of people exactly filing through the turnstiles last night to watch Aztec preseason scrimmage.
Yeah, no, it was I was surprised as well. I mean, it was Thursday at 7 o'clock. I mean, you had people had time to get home, get off of work and head down there. But yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of fans. What I expected was probably somewhere between like 1,000, 2,000, maybe even, more than that. But yeah, they didn't. It was more of a touch football game than it was a scrimmage as well, like no tackling. They did lose a couple starters to season-ending injuries in the past couple weeks. So yeah, they weren't too willing to do any tackling or anything like that. But we saw the 3 quarterbacks. Crum got in at the end a little bit, but we saw the 2, Denegal and Bert Emanuel Jr. The majority of the time. But yeah, not much Lucky Sutton either. And coach mentioned that was because of the injuries and how he needs him, so he didn't want him getting hurt.
Okay, tell me a little bit about Jaden Daganel. You've been out there at practice. You've watched him throw. What's he bring to the table from your standpoint?
Yeah, so he's an exciting quarterback, and we saw that a little bit last night. There wasn't his deep ball was a little bit off. He had some underthrows, but he's patient in the pocket. Very accurate. You can tell when he wants where he wants to go, when he wants to go there. Pretty good accuracy in his short game, throwing slants, posts, things like that. But then he also has that ability to take off and run. He took a few quarterback keepers up the middle for a first down, and they ran the read option a few times with him too. So pretty versatile player. I think he's definitely an upgrade from last year's quarterback as well.
I was reading an article today, and Ryan Lindley, who played there, Ryan from El Cap, and
Yep.
I don't want to say I played a part in recruiting him, but I did have him and his dad over to my studio one night, and I put him on the radio before he'd committed to San Diego State, and so
Oh,
I
wow.
got a pretty good rapport with Ryan. But he, like Kevin O'Connell, were local guys, and I had a
Yeah.
pretty good relationship with those guys. They ended up going to San Diego State, but they were saying that Ryan. I think he graduated in 2011 from state. Maybe it was his last year. Daganel,
Yeah.
this may be the most talented guy they've had since Ryan Lindley, and that's going to play out. But the other guy that I wanted to ask you about, who's a really good athlete, and he can run, and he's going to be the backup quarterback, Bert Emanuel Jr.
Yeah.
I was reading an article yesterday, and I don't know if Coach Lewis talked about this either pre-game or post-game, and I know you were at a press conference the other day as well. They've got to find a role for this guy. He just can't be standing on the sidelines all year long. I mean, they don't have a tremendous amount of great athletes right now at State. They're working on it. But this guy, somewhere along the line, Bert Emanuel Jr. may help them, I don't know, as a running back or as a wide receiver. They've got to give him some opportunities to showcase what he can do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he didn't have a bad scrimmage yesterday either. Him and Denigal both went 6 for 13. Denigal was 6 for 13 for 50 yards. Emmanuel Jr. was 6 for 13 and 134 yards.
Wow.
The majority of it came from an 87-yard touchdown to Miles Kitt-Denton on a post route that he just took off on. It really showed off that speed. But yeah, Emmanuel Jr., very versatile player. That's kind of how he was used at his previous school. Was, he wasn't the starter, but they would get him in there and he would run the ball. He was sort of like a kind of like Taysom Hill for the Saints, where he come in and he
kind of the change-up type guy.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw a little bit of that yesterday as well. He was running the read option too. So yeah, I think that he brings a lot to the table as well. And yeah, on that Wednesday where they announced Denigal as the starter, obviously a lot of reporters were asking about Emmanuel Jr. and kind of what his role was going to be without giving up. Obviously, Lewis isn't going to say exactly, but yeah, I would imagine that that he's somebody they can use, especially maybe in short yardage, if third and short or fourth and short, 4th and 1 or 2, where they kind of want to mix something up. Maybe run a read option with him and Lucky Sutton or something. But yeah, it's not going to be a typical backup quarterback where you don't see them really go in unless there's an injury.
Well, I can tell you this, and I know you and I are excited about the opener on that Thursday night on the 28th, okay, against Stony Brook. And I just want people, and I brought this up with Paul Rudy today as well. And I've been on the radio a little bit the last couple of days. I was on in Philadelphia. We talked mostly Padres, but I was on 760 yesterday, and we talked a little bit about FanFest last night. This Stony Brook team, I know they're, not, they're a lower division team.
Yeah.
But the Aztecs can't sleep on this team. This team 2 years ago, they didn't win a game. They were 0-10.
Yeah.
Last year, they brought in a whole new coaching staff, a lot of new players, and they went 8-4. And they've got some guys coming back. They got an All-American running back. They got an All-American offensive tackle. They've got some pretty decent players, and they've got a program that's on the upswing. And the Aztecs are kind of trying to find their sea legs right now. This is not I don't want to say an easy game. You can't look by that. And the fans got to realize this Stony Brook team is probably a lot better than you would imagine them being.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like you mentioned, they have that Roland Dempster is the running back returning. And then Nick, I might botch his last name, but Papik is the offensive lineman. They also have a good linebacker that returned, A.J. Roberts. So, but yeah, they got that new coach, Billy Kosh. And like you had mentioned, really turned the program around 0-10. Before he got there, and then they went 8-4. They were an even 4-2 at home and 4-2 away last year as well. But the main thing is, then the Aztecs have a solid defense. They returned a lot of starters. But this Coach Kosh over at with the Seawolves, he was a former offensive coordinator, so he's kind of like this offensive mind, and it showed not only in him turning the program around last season, but they also were the second highest scoring offense in their conference. So. Yeah, it's a game where on paper you look at it and you go, okay, the Aztecs should beat them. But luckily the Aztecs have a solid defense, but they could be tested in this first week.
It's one of these games, the beginning of the year, where if you're an Aztec fan, you look at Stony Brook, it's he he. Well, I got news for you. They're going to have to play. It's not going to be a layup.
No, not at all. I mean, look at their first season when they were in Snapdragon. I was at that first game against Arizona, and the previous year Arizona hadn't won a game, and I think that losing streak even went into this previous season to that as well, and they came in and beat us. But
and I'll say this because I was at that game. It was 100 degrees. And
it was hot. I was there too. Yeah.
The Aztecs were not very well prepared to play Arizona. Arizona was better than they were, obviously, the year before, but the
Yeah.
Aztecs weren't properly prepared. That team was ill prepared for that first game at Snapdragon Stadium.
Yeah.
Jonathan, great job. I know you're going to be going out to practice on a regular basis. We're going to have regular
Yep.
Aztec reports for all the Aztec fans out there. And again, I'll make sure to buy you a hot dog on opening night.
Sounds good. We'll be there. It'll be a fun one.
All right, Jonathan Olivieri covering Aztec football for us here on the John Kentera Show. Okay, we just got a couple of minutes left. We had a great interview today with Bob Scanlan. Let's get to Coach's mailbag and get to some of the questions we didn't get to on the last program. SDPB 6921. They better extend AJ. He changed the city. We may win our first world championship. We got a shot. A month ago, I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought we'd have got to the playoffs, and that had been about it. But we got a legitimate shot now to do something dynamic, no question about it. And whether or not they want to bring AJ Preller back or not, I don't think they're going to have much of a choice. They're going to have to bring him back. And I don't know where the powers to be. We never hear from the ownership anymore. Don't hear anything from the ownership. So we'll wait and see. They're probably going to talk, I would imagine, after the season's over. Good, bad, or indifferent. You got to have a kind of the state of the state, don't you? All right. What else we got today? User 3467 really would like this series to be in San Diego to help with momentum, but next week will be crazy at Petco. You know what? I'd rather play up there. Take 2 out of 3 up there. You can take 2 out of 3. You're walking down there feeling pretty good about yourself. Then you got the Giants. They'll limp down from the Bay Area. And you take care of business with them, and the Dodgers will be coming in from Colorado. And you got them after they're coming off a road trip for 4 games down in Colorado. And like we talked about with Bob Scanlan, you go to Colorado. You may win some games, but your pitching is going to get taxed because you're going to have to use your bullpen quite a bit. I'd imagine the Dodgers are going to make a lot of roster moves with their bullpen between the Padres series, the Colorado series, and the Padres series. They'll be moving guys all over the place. That's kind of the way I look at it. But I'd rather start on the road. I'd rather have them come home next weekend here, hopefully a 2 or 3 game lead, and then kind of put the Dodgers out of their misery. But man, this Dodger ball club, they're talented, they're prideful, and we'll see where it goes. Padres starting pitcher got to help out a little bit this weekend. You need a big outing from Dylan Cease. There's no question about that. In fact, let me real quickly, and then I'll get to another question here. We'll get that question up. Tonight, I assume it's going to be Randy Vasquez going against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw 6-2 with a 3.14 ERA. Tomorrow night at 6:10, Dylan Cease 5-10 and a 4.52 going against our old buddy left-hander Blake Snell 2-1 and a 2.37. And then the final game of the series at 1:10 on Sunday. Boy, it'll be a hot one up there. It'll be right-hander Yu Darvish 2-3 and a 5.61 going against right-hander Tyler Glasnow 1-1 and a 3.08 ERA. Glasnow's not pitched a whole lot this year. Blake Snell's not pitched a whole lot this year. So we miss Yamamoto, which is not a bad thing. He didn't pitch real well the other night, but I don't think we're going to see him next weekend. We may see him. I haven't looked at who the Dodgers are pitching Monday and Tuesday. We may see him, in the middle to the last game in the Dodgers series, but I'm sure he's going to throw early in that series in Colorado. But that's the pitching matchup. Let's get to another question. I think we got one more question here. Justin, what are the odds we take the division and make the Dodgers the wild card? Well, I'd say 50-50 at this point. Maybe 53-47. We got a 1-game lead with 41 games to go. Both teams have 41 games to go, just so you know. So hard to say, but man, I can't wait till Monday. We'll recap the weekend on Monday, get you ready for the Giants series. And we appreciate Bob Scanlan coming in, giving us about 40 minutes of his time this morning. And again, Scan said he's going to be on TV this weekend with Big Don Orsillo and Mark Mudd Grant. All right, everybody, enjoy the weekend. And thank you very much for being a part of the program. And again, send your questions in. Make sure to tell a friend. Please subscribe. Please like. And make sure you turn on those notifications. We'll talk to you again on Monday morning at 9 a.m. Go Padres.